4 of the Legacy Open. The current match we're watching, on your left you have Joe Lossett, who's playing a Cephalid Breakfast deck with a 1-0 lead over Ben Stepka playing a Bug Visions control deck. Now, Game 1, we're just jumping in here, but the spot on the floor says Game 1, Joe won on the second turn. He just, played his Nomad Encore and his Cephalid Illusionist, milled his entire library, and dread return his combo back, which ends with an arbitrarily large number of Sky Hussars attacking. Ben has slightly more modest ambitions. He just uses a bunch of interactive cards and some card draw and tries to get ahead and eventually chase his opponent out. Extirpates definitely give him a powerful weapon. Oh, actually, I think we're backwards. The names are backwards.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So actually, yeah, Joe is actually on the right. Joe's still up 1-0, but Joe is definitely on the right.
Yeah.
And it looks like Joe, he may be on the right. He's definitely on the wrong side of 7 cards on his way down to 6.
So a couple things, interesting things of note from Twitter. First, from last game, people are noting that Show and Tell does not allow you to put Jace into play. It apparently specifies card types and.
Oh yeah, but you just drop. Yeah, you don't put this Jace in play. You're supposed to just play it and then bounce the Jace.
You mean play Jace and bounce the Emrakul?
Right. Yeah.
Got it. Okay. Just clarifying that. And then.
Yeah, because you can't put Nico Bolas in play either. That was one of the other big problems with it, with the Eureka decks that played Nico Bolas.
So for this game, just from Twitter, Liam Kane, actually another guy. I don't know if he's friends with Joe or he just follows Joe's exploits, but with this deck, he said that Send Triplets is actually in Joe's sideboard specifically for this match. For the control match? Yeah. So I would have thought, Send Triplets, the Hive Mind guy, make him play those packs. But yeah, Send Triplets, for those of you not familiar, is a 5-mana artifact creature, 2 blue, white, black, for a 3/3 that basically you sort of get a soft Mindslaver on your opponent every turn, on your turn. Just at the beginning of your upkeep. Yeah.
And allegedly that's for this matchup, as it basically is just, I don't know, I guess it's an abeyance you can tutor for, but it costs 5. So, I don't know.
Kind of interesting.
It's definitely a sweet card we don't get to see very often.
Yeah, not at all. What's that? Yeah. Send Triplets can't be killed by most bug lists. What's this?
Now, this bug list actually has Diabolic Edict, Putrefy, and Maelstrom Pulse, Counterspell, Force of Will, and Jace the Mind Sculptor. And Diabolic Edict, all of which will be in. Additionally, the Breakfast deck has only 19 land against a deck with 4 Wastelands and 2 Life from the Loams. So I question how relevant Send Triplets will be, but I mean, we'll see. Be pretty sick if he vials it down.
That would be pretty sick. Vial 1/5. Send Triplets.
Alright. Ben, 2 land to play, an Underground Sea and a Flooded Strand, just a random off fetch land. Joe Lossett, fetching himself to get a second land. He's already got an Underground Sea. Looks like he's going to get a Tundra.
You can use it as a 1-card combo, since you can then use the removal that Bug will have in their hand to kill their creatures.
This Bug deck doesn't have any creatures. Not only does this Bug deck not have, this isn't like the Team America style.
Right.
This is like Bug still. It has no creatures.
Yeah.
And not only that, if they have any removal, they will use it on the Send Triplets. You don't get to Send Triplets doesn't have haste.
Right.
They have a full turn to respond. I definitely do not think that Send Triplets is going to be that crucial in this matchup. But I don't know. What do I know? I think it's it's kind of a sweet card. I'd be surprised if I would be surprised if Joe gets to 5 land. But
I mean, does he dread return it? Yeah, that seems weak when you have such a.
I mean, it's just gonna die. It's a 3/3, and he has a full turn to. I mean, he's gonna have more removal. It's not like he's gonna have less. He's gonna have more removal because removal is great against Breakfast. All right, so Joe drops an Ether Vial, and Ben is brainstorming a response, hoping to find some mental misstep. This Ether Vial is definitely one of the strongest weapons against him.
Okay, just he says he thought this was more of a Team America.
Oh yeah, this is definitely not a Team America deck at all. This is like Paulo's Bug Steel deck from the GP, except with Visions instead of Land Steel.
Right.
Ben, it's really interesting. We saw in his hand, he's got Force of Will, at least one blue card, and Extirpate. So he definitely has some sweet things going on here. Most likely he's going to try to fight over the Vial. Where things are going to get tricky is the little dance between Extirpate and Abeyance.
So wait, how does that work?
Yeah, so when he Abeyances him, he won't be able to Extirpate anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But if he doesn't Abeyance him, Extirpate can stop the combo basically whenever, you know? And Extirpate is obviously uncounterable. Can't be stepped, can't be forced, nothing.
Can't be responded to, really.
Right. And Joe doesn't really have a lot of discard. He's a little shy of Thought Seizes, but he makes up for it with his extra Abeyances out of the board.
So Vial goes up to 1.
The Miser's Misdirection. Joe, still just 2 land in play. Looks like Joe might have the Abeyance, but he's a little short on combo pieces.
Ponder, I believe.
Ponders again. Probably ship. I mean, maybe he wants that Cabal Therapy. Not so sure. I definitely wonder why he tapped the Underground Sea instead of the Tundra. I mean, he's not casting any white spells. He's got a Vial in play. But, say la vie.
May not be that relevant.
Well, he's got Cabal Therapy on top of his deck now.
Oh, right, yeah.
Okay, he does have another land.
Adds a Flooded Strand to the board. Passes back, Ben cracks his Polluted Delta over an Underground Sea.
So, at this point, what's Ben looking to do here? I mean, does he, he's loaded up with, but right now his hand is full of gas. Does he just want to drop a Jace, figuring he can weather the storm while he's tapped out that one turn, and then after that he's just going to start brainstorming every single turn and get pulled way, way ahead?
Oh, he's going to go with Vendilion Click, I think.
Oh, that's excellent. Put a clock on him, and look at his hand to give yourself an idea of just how good of a hand does Joe have. Can I take the liberty of tapping up for a Jace?
Right.
Vendilion Click, definitely a very popular creature in this Legacy format. How many different people had access to Vendilion Click in this top 8?
Yeah, we have 1, 3 here, 3 there.
Nick Spignola. I guess not as many, because a lot of the Merfolk decks don't have it. But.
Where'd the click go? I'm trying to figure out. Oh, was he kind of confused as to what just happened? We looked down at the lists and the Vendilion Click disappeared. Okay.
No, he was just picking it up while stuff was resolving. Alright, because he can't just cast it without having the mana.
Right.
So, for those of you wondering about whether or not Island appeared in everybody's deck, it did. Island is awesome. This is the Legacy, so looks like that temporary, short-lived boost of aggro decks last week, people compensated against it. And we heard that Denver was actually
pretty
hotbed of aggro.
Yeah, at least for Standard.
But looks like the aggressive decks here are all Merfolk.
Merfolk is a very, very popular strategy, it seems like. I mean, it feels like every event has just multiple Merfolk in the coverage, if not in the top 8.
Well, I mean, it puts a fast clock on people. It's consistent. It's got, obviously a ton of 0-mana counterspells. And Aether Vial is a very powerful card. I mean, it's not suffering on card quality or consistency, so it's a great choice for somebody who wants to play really aggressive but doesn't want to fold the combo decks. So Ben takes a look, sees Joe is not really working with much. He has a Kiki-Jiki, a Cabal Therapy, and a Misdirection. Now the Vial, did the Vial down a Nomad?
I think it did.
Yeah, so at least he has the Nomad in play. However, Ben's about to untap, and if he just kills the Nomad, Joe doesn't even have a whole lot going on here. And this is a real bad position if Ben can press the advantage. He definitely has an edge right now. Sitting on Extirpate, Force of Will, blue card. Oh, he's got Putrefy too, so he doesn't have blue card. He has Force of Will, blue card, Putrefy, Extirpate. Yeah. That is the type of grip that you beat the tar out of breakfast people with.
Especially ones who are kind of not in that great of a position anyway.
Yeah, I mean he mulliganed, so he's already down
Right.
cards, and now in his hand, I mean,
He's got one of the guys that he wants in his graveyard in his hand.
Yeah, he really needs to find a way to shuffle. Now there's the Cephalid Illusionist that's so relevant to him. He's going to get rid of Kiki Jiki, and things actually just got a lot better for him. However, he doesn't have any counterplay for that extirpate.
Yeah, that's going to be an issue.
He did find another Brainstorm, though, so if he unfortunately doesn't have any way to shuffle this stuff away. However, if he just hangs out for a little bit, he can try to set up, because as it is now, Ben definitely has the advantage in hand. Joe might not know how much more of an advantage, but he knows that Ben knows how strong his hand is. The clock, 3-turn clock, but it's possible he just waits 2 turns and tries to develop his position a little bit. As it is now, he seems a fair bit away from being competitive here. Like he really, like, I mean, he really needs an abeyance. And Ben took the Cabal Therapy, right? So with no Cabal Therapy, Joe is left with just a Misdirection. Now he can use Misdirection on like either the Putrefy or the, you know, the Force of Will, but that's just one layer. He still needs an abeyance for the extirpate. Ben has multiple Force of Wills to protect it.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, once again, it appears we are running into the issue of, at the end of the day, everybody leaves and the room becomes very, very quiet.
I'm really surprised that anybody can hear us. We're not talking very loud. So,
they say it. I mean, one cannot doubt the daredevil. Alright, so at this point,
we need to put like a radio over there.
Joe, brainstorming again. He's going to have to find an abeyance and some way to try to force it through. Once again, no fetch mind at all, leaving Joe with sort of a sealed fate, you know. Like at this point, he's going to have to play the Cephalid Illusionist, if only to mill himself so that he can run into some fresh cards.
Right.
Like he should probably just got to give up on comboing off at all and just try to get the mediocre beats going, you know.
Yeah, we saw him manage to do that earlier after losing a piece of his combo, the loss to Kiki Jiki.
Brainstorm. Ben, a fully loaded grip, has Joe on a 3-turn clock and 4 layers of protection. And this is exactly what Ben wants to try to do, you know? Rely on Joe drawing some of those bad cards early and start riding your advantage, you know? Like, keep using Brainstorms or Jaces to set up your hand. Vendilion Click can put some pressure. I mean, plus obviously just drawing lots of your interaction, you know? If you draw lots of your disruptive cards, and that's the age-old problem with breakfast. That's what everybody always says. What's the problem with breakfast? There are no cards that are not good against it, you know? Like, it's weak to everything. Like, it's a super powerful deck that beats everybody game 1, but no matter what hate there is, it's vulnerable to every single kind of hate. It's vulnerable to creature removal, graveyard removal, permission, discard, everything. Great. I mean, still, it's so blisteringly fast that it just gets tons and tons of free wins. So, I got a feeling we're going to see Joe vial down a Cephalid, and
maybe he'll vial down Kataki. Figure, you know, they're hearing what we're saying.
I don't think they're hearing what we're saying. Yeah, we're being quiet.
No, I think we're being pretty quiet, but it would be pretty funny.
Yeah, I don't think he'll do that.
Sarah Angel.
Yeah, he's not at 5 on the vial yet. I remember when vial cost 2. In playtesting?
Okay. You say, are you referring to another card or?
No, different era, different day. So many stories that may never be told. So, Joe, Worldly Tutoring. Is he running the old Worldly Tutor Miss?
Yeah, I think he may be. Just
Just
wanted to
wants-
shuffle.
Yeah. Had to shuffle away the Kiki-Jiki and that Narcomoeba. He's in real bad shape. It's kind of interesting, though. I mean, do you for sure? Well, what are you gonna do? At this point, Joe has a Nomad Encore, an Ether Vial, and just plays his 5th land. Then, plenty of mana, a lot of cards in hand, and a Vendilion Click. At this point, Joe is rapidly running out of time.
Super close microphones now.
Alright, so looks like we have the just random Skyasar. There's no question. Joe was hoping to draw a little bit more in the way of protection.
Yeah.
But we're just about at the end of the road. He's just going to have to do it raw, and he's going to lose. Not really sure what kind of trickery he could try to pull off to swindle this one either, just because, I mean, Ben's not even being greedy with his mana. He's just attacking with the Vendilion Click every turn, and a couple more turns of this, and it'll be over with.
Yep.
Ben already has 4 layers of protection.
Yeah, not really much they can do but go to game 3.
Well, I mean, Joe can drop a Narcomoeba, you know, stuff like that. Try to fight, make him fight over the irrelevant stuff. Because that can block a Vendilion Click. It's a Narcomoeba that flies.
Oh, does it? Jeez,
Yeah.
I didn't even realize that.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. Like, you gotta try to make your bad cards into something useful. Maybe Ben just uses creature kill on it, but at least it's one less creature kill for your combo when you try to go for it.
Right.
One way or another, you gotta turn those cards into something. And so often that's a challenge with these decks like Alarin or Flash or Breakfast. You have all these dead cards that you have to sometimes figure out how to, you know, make something with. You gotta MacGyver it, you know? Like, you just gotta rubber band an empty box of matches and, you know, somebody's umbilical cord.
I didn't remember seeing that on MacGyver. I mean, it's been a while, but that's not one that I remember him using.
So, he vials down the Narcomoeba. Strangely, on the end step instead of the attack phase.
He may have forgotten it flies until he heard you bring it up.
Is he just gonna... He just wants to Skyasar? I guess. I don't know. This is ambitious considering Joe is at 3 life. But he does get a blue card and a Force of Will for his 2 cards for the turn, thanks to this Skyasar. So, I guess he got what he wanted. He wanted a layer of protection. So we're gonna see a valiant effort. He's gonna go for it. Joe, vialing down the Cephaloid. Is this the showdown?
Maybe.
Is this the showdown? I think this is the showdown.
Let me see what happens here. So, on Joe's side of the board, we've got 5 lands, an Aether Vial on, what is it, 2?
Tap now.
Yeah, tapped, just vial down a Cephalid Illusionist. He's got a Narcomoeba tapped and a Nomad's Encore tapped. And he cracks his Flooded Strand.
Yep, gotta get the land out of your deck, because he's right about to start milling himself.
Yep, so looks like he's gonna grab an Underground Sea.
Not too relevant when he gets here. Ben, meanwhile, with, is that 8 land? Yeah, 8 land. And a grip full of prime action.
Also Vendilion Click in play, which has been bringing the beats.
Yep, he's got Joe at 2 life, so it's now or never. See, I still think he should have vialed down the Narcomoeba during the attack phase, potentially buy himself time, draw out a removal spell, and then on his upkeep, if the Narcomoeba got killed by an instant speed removal spell, vial the Cephaloid down on your own upkeep, forecast, and just go hard. But the extra bait.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep, this is...
So,
I mean, I don't think he can beat a single extirpate in this position, because eventually he's going to flip a Narcomoeba, and eventually it's going to get extirpated. But, we'll see.
so he has already started the milling process.
Ben, patiently, just hanging out. No reason to do anything now.
Nope.
Because if he tries to kill something in response, he'll just mill a whole bunch of response anyway.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting that Ben did not choose to kill the Nomad in response to the Cephalid getting piled down.
Yeah, that would have been...
But that's not necessarily a bad play, because if he wants to just save his mana, maybe he thinks there's a different point to bottleneck, you know?
Right.
Joe, milling 3 cards again. I predict the critical juncture will be when Narcomoeba trigger comes into play.
Be any second now, really. And... no?
Mm-hmm.
3 more? Nope.
The milling continues. Both players surveying Joe's graveyard. Want to keep track of how much has been milled.
3 more.
And still, the Narcomoebas continue to not show.
Wow.
The land continues to burn.
Alright, there's one.
There is a Narcomoeba trigger.
So,
This is the showdown.
hold up. I want to play a spell. It's an extirpate.
Is he extirpating the Narcomoeba?
Didn't see what he pointed at.
He pointed at the Dread Return.
Dread Return, okay. So, extirpate your Dread Return. Yeah, do you want to look through and find... It's the only Dread Return, isn't it?
It is the only Dread Return.
Yeah, so...
Nothing wrong with taking a look through.
Oh, no, absolutely not. I
Just
was
making sure you know what's...
You know, wondering for my own purposes here.
Yep.
I don't think that's a plan. I'm pretty sure he does.
Yeah, but you can close your eyes. Yeah, we just had a ruling of whether or not you're allowed to keep your eyes closed when you look through your opponent's deck. It is legal, in fact, to close your eyes. Well, he's certainly got to stop milling now.
Yeah, that's,
So, at this point, they're going to fight over Sky Hussar. Ben is going to win this fight. And at that point, the one Narcomoeba is the only thing holding off the Vendilion Click, so that if Ben actually does have a removal spell, it's curtains. Actually, I mean, I guess Joe can continue milling more and just look for the third Narcomoeba to make sure he has a blocker. He is dangerously low in cards in his library, however.
but, if that's his only option, that's...
I mean,
his
well, the
only
first
option.
thing, I think he's got to decide, do I for sure play this Sky Hussar?
Right.
Because he's got Misdirection, Force of Will, blue card, as long as he doesn't play the Sky Hussar.
There's 11 cards left in his library.
11 cards left in the library.
And that's not actually that few. I mean,
No,
you can get a lot of work done. He got more done with less.
When he had 5 cards left in that first game we watched,
Oh.
or that first match we watched.
Yeah, he doesn't actually have a 4th blue card. He has Ether Vial. So he's definitely... Seems like we start with the Cabal Therapy, which is probably get mental misstepped here.
So, Cabal Therapy, flashing back, sacrificing Narcomoeba.
The tapped one.
Yeah, the tapped Narcomoeba, that's definitely relevant.
Ben, the decision is to pay 2 life or not. He pays the 2. Figures this isn't going to be a game of inches with regards to the life total. Joe's only play left at this point. He's got to play Sky Hussar. Ben, hard casting Force of Will. Joe, misdirection. He's going to misdirect the Force of Will to the misdirection. Or not to the misdirection, but yeah. So the misdirection is going to target the Force of Will and make the Force of Will target the misdirection.
Right. I think that's about all Joe can do. So, misdirection, removing a Force of Will. force back. And Sky Hussar goes to the graveyard, successfully countered.
Now the interesting thing here is that Joe did manage to put up enough of an attack that he stripped Ben of all of his cards.
Yep.
This makes me, go back and point to the fact that could have extirpated the Narcomoeba.
Yeah, that would have done...
Because you can still counter the Dread return.
Right.
I don't know. We'll see. I mean, Joe is certainly in a really bad spot here. And with no mana, he's not going to be able to actually use the Cephalid ability. He's just chumping. And so it remains to be seen what he can actually do to get out of this, Joe now has to decide, do I go get a second Narcomoeba so that I can actually, at least kill that factory? Because he's going to have to block the Vendilion Clique with the Narcomoeba. If he finds the second Narcomoeba in his top 3 cards, taking down the factory here helps stabilize quite a bit.
Yeah.
He decides he's going to go for it.
And
Goes
no
again,
Narcomoeba.
down to 8 cards.
Does it
Goes
again.
down to 5 cards. And he does find the Narcomoeba. 5 cards is not a ton, but you can do 14 damage with 5 cards. So we see... And Joe actually decides to chump the factory so as to maintain his combo. He wants to keep the stuff with Illusionist. I guess as a backup plan, at least the Illusionist can block, the Mishra's Factory indefinitely. Right. One way or another, though, he's going to have to figure out how to get a lot more damage in. Karmic Guidance. If Karmic Guide is still in his library, that's his play.
I think it is.
Yeah, it's hard to see his whole graveyard, but do we have any way of knowing if Karmic Guide is in his graveyard? Yeah. And there's the advance, a day late and $1 short. This game, we're sending somebody down to find out if Karmic Guide is already in the graveyard or not. Oh, no, he's packing it in. It must have already been in the graveyard. Yeah.
Yeah, so going to Game 3 here in the semifinals of Star City Games Open Series Denver. The legacy portion, we're watching Ben Stepka and Joe Lossett. Ben on a Bug Still list versus Joe Lossett's Cephalid Breakfast deck, which quickly took Game 1. Game 2, it was put up a heck of a fight, but couldn't
quite break through. He ended up 1 card short, and he did take a mulligan, which is so hard in these type of matchups.
Yeah.
We'd like to congratulate our 6-month premium winner from the question. The question was, what was the cheapest blue creature in Brian Kibler's Grand Prix Singapore deck? The winner is Mark Young, at MMYoung. The answer, Vidalcan Surtek.
Yep.
Vidalcan Surtek, costing just a single blue mana.
So we did get an interesting thing from Twitter here. The first Pro Tour was Worlds 1994, which had 1 American in the top 4.
It wasn't a Pro Tour.
Right, it
was
wrong. Worlds, wasn't it?
No, it wasn't.
I'm saying it was just Worlds. It wasn't...
Yeah, that wasn't a Pro Tour. Right. Yeah, well, whoever it is, they're wrong.
Okay. Just, wanted to mention.
So I guess Harry0889, Harry J.
No, that's another person.
It's a different person?
It's this person here. AJ Firecracker.
AJ Firecracker, your heart is in the right place. However, once again, you did not Google the information that you're claiming before trying to say that we're wrong. The Pro Tour was invented by Scaff Elias and was originally the Black Lotus $1 Million Magic the Gathering Pro Tour. The first Pro Tour was the one that Michael Acanto won, the self-proclaimed Michael Jordan of Magic. The top 8, the 5 people in the top 8 that were Americans were George Baxter, Mark Justice, Hammer Regnier, Michael Acanto, Preston Poulter, with the 3 international players being Bertrand Lestrade, Eric Tam, and Leon Lindbeck. Zach Dolan. Do you know what Zach Dolan won for being the world champion? He won a few boxes of boosters. There's actually a pretty insane article by Zach Dolan on Star City on the Untold Legends of the Magic the Gathering Pro Tour. If you look at the Untold Legends article by Zach Dolan, you can hear a little bit about his early exploits. But that was definitely not a pro tour. It was neither a tour nor by any reasonable stretch of the imagination professional. It was a 512, it was like a giant single elimination tournament that was the equivalent of Type 1, just because there was no other format, where the winner had Ley Druid, Stasis, Sarah Angel, Instill Energy, Power Sync, all sorts of stuff. Clone, Vesuvan Doppelganger.
Wow.
But
That's a-
none of that is why it's not a Pro Tour. Why it's not a Pro Tour is that they did not brand it as a Pro Tour. They announced the advent of the Pro Tour in 1996, and the first one took place in New York. All right. Do we get to give any more premium?
Yes, we do.
Yeah, a year before the finals.
Yep.
Just before the finals? Sweet.
We'll,
I
we'll ask a
sick one for
question.
that one.
All right, good. So we'll ask a question on I guess right after game 1 of the finals, and then people can answer it, and we will congratulate the winner at the end of the finals.
Absolutely.
For those of you who won premium yesterday or today, Evan or someone will likely contact you sometime in the next few days.
So what are you saying? Don't call us, we'll call you?
Yep. We'll have our people call you, because I assume you don't have people.
You're assuming I don't have people?
Not you, the people.
You're crazy if you think
people.
if you think
have people. You have
and I
ninjas
know
and spies.
I know that
That's all.
MM Young has people.
Yeah.
There's no question. If there's one person who has people, it's Mark Young. All right.
AJ Firecracker says, you're right. I did look it up, but misinterpreted the information. The first Pro Tour was not, in fact, 1994 World Champs.
No, that was the first World Championship, though.
Yeah.
And it was definitely the first major tournament, too. You know, that's the first earliest recorded major tournament. I mean, there was a tournament at Gen Con. Actually, the first ever Magic tournament was won by a black-red deck with Dark Rituals, Juggernauts, like just various random dudes, Lightning Bolts, defeating a green-white deck. And both were very much the equivalent of sealed decks, because just card availability. You know,
Yeah.
all anybody had was a few boosters and whatever they traded for.
Right.
That was
So-
at Gen Con in 1994.
Game 3 has begun with both players
Or
leading
1993,
on leading on an underground seat.
Ben
Stepka.
with visions, though. Now all he has to do,
Ancestral Vision.
yeah, absolutely. If he can just live through the first 4 turns,
Mhm.
then visions gives him a real good way to get a game-winning advantage. You know, because already as the game goes long, Joe has a lot of dead cards and stuff that just end up wasting time.
Right.
Ben, all he needs to do is survive long enough to have this visions, and he's in a pretty good spot. It looks like his hand has a nice mix. He has blue cards, Force of Will, Extirpate, mana. This is exactly what Ben is looking for.
Joe brainstorms. And
Deliberating what to look back with Brainstorm.
yep. Look at that card in Ben's hand. Did you see that?
It's a black one?
Yep.
Yeah, yep. So, Joe, playing a Flooded Strand, getting that all valuable shuffle, and a fresh look.
Yep.
So often it's like Brainstorm does Ancestral Recall in these sorts of decks. You know, we
Yeah.
always used to talk about back in the day with Flash, how the 4 Brainstorms were better than Ancestral Recall in the vintage Flash decks. We'd actually rather have 3 Brainstorms in our deck than the Ancestral Recall. You know,
Yeah.
just because most of the time Brainstorms like an Ancestral Recall anyway, because you have so many dead cards.
Mhm.
It's just so important to be able to shuffle them back. You know, plus Ancestral Recall gets misdirected. Brainstorm doesn't.
Yeah. That's
And Brainstorm saves you the trouble of having to therapy yourself. Nobody really wants to go to therapy themselves, you know?
so. Brainstorm from Stepka meets mental misstep from Joe.
Is this another step of Stepka's step? If Stepka steps the step of Stepka's Brainstorm, I'm going to enjoy saying what's going on.
And it
Looks like the
it
stack
resolves,
stops.
yeah.
Stepka's step stops.
So Joe cracks his Flooded Strand.
Now, did Stepka miss his land drop?
It appears that way, and I think that's why he was brainstorming, so as not to miss that land drop.
See, it looked like he had another land in his hand, but it turned out he did not. So he may have Stone Cold everything else, but he does not have a second land. And often in these types of matchups, you can get real bottlenecked on mana.
Yeah.
I mean, he can sit there and just hold his black mana open, so that he can extirpate and have tons of Force of Wills and stuff. But this is the type of game that a combination of Cabal Therapies and Abeyances could be brutal.
So, looks like another... maybe, maybe not. What's happening here?
Joe's deciding to brainstorm. That's the signal for I don't have a mental misstep.
When's he doing this brainstorm? Is this end of turn, or is this...
It would appear to be end of turn because the
Okay.
land was just tapped.
Yeah, that's what confused me, because I thought it was during his turn, but... trying to figure out what that other land was tapped for.
So he finds, looks like he has both halves of the combo now. And the mana to do it all. The question is, does he care about protection? It's kind of sick that he doesn't have to deal with Extirpate this turn. He decides he's just going to go for it.
Looks like it.
Oh no, he
maybe
takes it
not.
back.
Just thinking about it a little bit. So...
Looks like he has a couple more blue cards in his hand. It'll be interesting to see which ones they are. Cephal Illusionist draws the Force of Will. Stepka figuring that Joe might be leading with the Illusionist just to try to bait him into countering the Nomad. You know? Thinking
Yeah.
maybe Joe has two Nomads, so he's going to lead by countering the first one this time. Joe drops a Vial. Perhaps the Cephal Illusionist was only a ruse. Not everybody plays Vial in the breakfast decks, but it's so good against these blue decks.
Absolutely.
So Stepka finds a polluted Delta.
Extirpate the illusionist.
Wow.
Extirpate on Cephalid Illusionist.
So
Makes things awkward.
Joe's going to have to do this the hard way. The breakfast deck isn't really capable of milling itself with a Cephalid Illusionist. However, it can still win. It can still combo off. It just has to assemble the combination of Karmic Guide, Kiki Jiki, and Sky Hussar naturally. Now, it does have a lot of library manipulation and tutors, but now instead of a 2-card combo, you got to make a 3-card combo. Instead of having 9 copies of the pieces, got 1 of each.
Yeah, it's a lot tougher.
It's a lot tougher. And this configuration of Joe's breakfast deck is not particularly well suited for the backup plan. So he fought through Surgical Extraction last round. This round it looks like Extirpate may end up being deciding. The Visions is ticking away. Okay, this is going to be... I mean, Joe's got to be a huge dog from this position. Without Cephalid Illusionist, he's got so little action, and that Visions is very soon going to leave Ben with even more gas to help refill, you know?
Yeah, so Thought seizes away the Nomads, leaving Joe with just a Brainstorm. And really looks like... I don't know how he wins this fight.
Well, you can vial up to 5 because all your combo pieces cost 5.
Right, right.
So hopefully Joe is ticking, like, to make it interesting, Joe's got to be ticking his vial all the way up. If Ben gets flooded with counterspells, you don't actually have to cast any counterspells at all. Any spells
Right.
that can be countered.
Right.
You can just vial out all the 5-drops.
Yeah, considering he doesn't need to...
He doesn't have to dread return. He
That's
doesn't have to
right.
do any of that.
He doesn't actually need the Karmic Guide then, doesn't he? Just need Kiki Jiki and...
Oh yeah, you're
Sky
right, you're
Hussar?
right, you're right, you're right, you're right, you're absolutely right. He doesn't need the Karmic Guide at all. He just needs Kiki Jiki and Sky Hussar. Karmic Guide is just a backup to the combo.
Right.
So, still needs a 2-card combo. Unfortunately, it only has 1 copy of each and both cost 5. One of which is uncastable.
He does have Worldly Tutor in hand.
He still has to get that vial up to 5. He's a long way away.
Yeah. But I'm saying, you know...
It's interesting, he didn't... Well, it's tough, because now that the Visions is resolved, it's going to be really hard to resolve a Worldly Tutor.
Yeah.
So, Joe, the other big interesting one, and it may amuse the watchers at home, it may be Send Triplets.
Yeah.
Time to Shine. Another 5-drop that, if he just vials it down, he can actually just win the game with Send Triplets alone.
That could be a very interesting
If
situation.
Ben doesn't, you know, because if Ben doesn't have, like, Ben's a little bit choked on mana right now, so he's a ways off of being able to do a lot of his primary game plan, like Jace or Pernicious Deed. If Ben is just flooded with counterspells, and from the fact that he's discarding Spell Snare, you know, if Ben is just flooded with counterspells, if Joe can get to his Send Triplets, he can just vial down a Mindslaver and just start ripping Ben apart, make Ben destroy himself with his own cards.
What is that vial on right now?
Is it 4? It looks like 4.
I want to say it's 4, yeah. So here's our Brainstorm, and Brainstorm meets Counterspell?
Oh my gosh, Joe has sent triplets in hand.
Yeah, I know. I thought you saw that, so that's just why you brought it up, because you started talking about it exactly that turn, I think.
We're going to see the Squire beats, Shaman and Core drops. For those of you that were suggesting,
What's it on?
it's on 4. It's on 4.
We're just confirming. Yeah, it looks like it.
Yep. For those of you who told us that Send triplets could take over this match, it turns out you may be justified.
It was Liam Kane's Storm is Fair. Again,
Storm is Fair?
Yeah, that guy.
It would appear your prophecy has come. It might be coming true. We'll see. I mean, we'll see if it works. But it's certainly Joe's plan. You know, because he's not in a good spot. But there are worse spots than having that as an option, especially since Ben is still so choked on mana.
So there goes up to 5. Aether Vial on 5. Draws his card for the turn.
Sky Hussar.
Sky Hussar.
So it looks like he has Kiki Chiki and Sky Hussar now.
And
Sky Hussar.
oh, so wait, he's got Kiki.
He's got the combo.
I didn't know he even had the Kiki Jiki.
Yeah.
Wow. Whoa.
Just the natural, actual perfects.
That is unbelievable.
This is going to be a sweet one. It's going to be, and it's certainly, I mean, it's not like Joe's in that great of a spot, but he's got the tools. Ben's going to have something, because Joe definitely beats the board.
Whoa. This is going to get interesting in
I actually like Joe's position
few
here.
seconds. Yeah, I think it's going to get really interesting.
Let's get dangerous.
Darkwing Duck. Huh? And we have, is that a Pernicious Deed?
You may lose on the spot right here.
Yeah.
Oh no, the deed stops all the tokens. You can deed for 0.
Yeah. Well,
The good news is Send triplets.
exactly. That he's got that. Yeah. So he
Sky Hussar.
goes with Sky Hussar.
Does he not know? Why do you not play Send triplets?
I have not yet seen the Kiki Jiki that you mentioned. Oh, there it is. Okay. So he says, okay, I'm gonna copy that. Yeah, this is awkward.
This is awkward.
Oh, converted mana cost is a copyable value. So the
Oh wow, the
all
copies
have-
aren't
yeah.
tokens. Yeah, that's right. They're tokens, but
yeah.
they have
Oh,
the
that
value.
was it.
They're not just like beast tokens.
Wow.
Good for him.
I really kind of wanted to see Send triplets though.
That was well done by Joe. That was an impressive.
Impressive couple of
He
top
figured
decks.
out what he knew. Well, it wasn't just the top decks. He knew what he needed to do. He knew that he was in a bad spot, and he knew he needed to try to sculpt the game to a situation where he could actually
I
go
guess
down
we
the
can talk a
line.
little louder now. So,
Yeah. You guys can talk.
yeah, cool. Wow.
Yeah, this is really cool. So that match was.